Good morning, sunshine. Welcome back to Tiger's Occult. I'm your friendly internet paranormal researcher and investigator, Dr. Morris, and today we're going to cover a couple lesser known entities, the Achiyalabopa and the Ahi At-Trab. Again, referring to our three main reference texts, Illy's Encyclopedia of Spirits, Bain's Encyclopedia of Spirits and Ghosts in World Mythology, and Gailey's Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, and a smattering of further research, I'm going to do my best to tell you where they come from, how to identify them, what they do. We'll address any ethical concerns, and then we'll try to make sure we go over safe interaction with the entities if you should ever come across them during your travels. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Our first entry for today is the Achiyalabopa. There's not a lot of reliable information about this entity. Bain finally fails me with her citation work, but we're not going to hold that against her. The three sources she cites are Element Encyclopedia of Magical Creatures by Matthews, Giants, Monsters, and Dragons by Rose, and Wizard's Bestiary by Zale and Ravenheart. They're all modern works, which that's fine. That's fine. But generally speaking, we here at Tigers Occult Books and Research are looking for older texts, preferably written by or about the culture that we're exploring. Primary and close secondary sources, if we can get them. Modern sources are gladly used if they can point us in the direction of something older and closer to the time period we're looking into. Anyway, this entity comes from the Pueblo people of the southwest region of the United States. The Pueblo mythology identifies more than 500 separate ancestral spirits and divine entities, but the details of these spirits have unfortunately been lost to common access and time. When the Spanish arrived in 1540, they made a great effort to suppress the Pueblo religion and replace it with Catholicism. As a result, most of what we know about the Pueblo spirits are fragmentary at best, whispered stories and half-forgotten tales passed down through the ages. As a result, the record of the Achiyalabopa is largely forgotten. Bain's entry on the Achiyalabopa includes a physical description, but not much else. She calls the Achiyalabopa a celestial, gigantic, monstrous bird with rainbow wings that kills anyone it comes upon with its feathers made of flint or its razor-sharp bill. In just about every reference I'm coming up with, it likewise mentions rainbow-colored wings or feathers that are as sharp as knives. Because this is a bird entity, I would hesitantly classify it as Class 6, which indicates an animal, non-human based spirit, but without actually knowing much about his behaviors and habits, I can't make a guess at description or the identification for that matter. There's really not much here, unfortunately. The only bit of folklore I was able to glean comes from godsandmonsters.info, which is cool, but I hesitate to lean on it as a resource because it doesn't have the specific origin of its information. This is just a story that someone told sometime, and there's no indication if it was a Pueblo native or it's just somebody making stuff up. I don't know. But due to the lack of information, we're going to go with what we got. The story from Gods and Monsters goes, once upon a time, a man wanted to capture the Achiyalabopa because he thought that owning such a magnificent, beautiful creature would grant him wisdom and insight. The Achiyalabopa, teaching the man a lesson, led him on an epic chase across mountains, rivers, and dreamscapes. At the end of the chase, the man never captured the Achiyalabopa, but instead found a mirror that reflected his own soul. The Achiyalabopa had gently forced the man to understand himself better through the journey, and in undertaking the chase, he had earned the wisdom and the insight that he had sought. Like I said, I cannot absolutely confirm that this is a real Pueblo story, but the behavior sounds similar enough to other native spirits who gently teach life lessons in curious ways that, personally, I'm inclined to believe it. As for the ethical considerations and safe interaction methods, look, if there's one thing I remember from my time in the Army, it's don't mess with the wildlife, okay? It seems mostly harmless as long as you're not doing something to actively agitate it. If you do agitate it, apparently the whole thing is sharp, like a bird made out of razor blades, so you're on your own. I'm just going to go ahead and channel my old inner NCO and remind you, don't mess with the wildlife. Uh, so yeah, this has been my paranormal entity safety briefing. That's all I got. Carry on. Next up, we've got the Ahi At-Trab. There's not a lot of information about these entities available. They come to us from the Muslim Tuareg people, who are a Berber ethnic group from North Africa. Primarily nomadic, they've spent a lot of time in the Saharan desert, so if anyone knows what lurks under those sands, it's those folks. The description isn't really easy to get into. It's simply described as living under the sand in the desert and almost never seen. Some tribes have noted that they take the form of the sand columns in a sandstorm, but that's about all the description we've got. There's no data on where they come from, so I actually can't even attempt to utilize the class description identification system here. Likewise, there's little to no information on folklores, tales, legends. The Ahi At-Trab doesn't seem to be well documented at all. Rather passed down like a superstition similar to an old wives' tale. That being said, I don't live in the Sahara, so I can't positively or negatively offer an opinion of their existence. In my travels, I've found that if the locals say it's there, don't argue with them and heed their warnings. Lastly, they seem to be mischievous prank spirits. They seem to be limited to tripping camels or as a traveler as they pass, or in some instances, they'll drink an oasis spring dry. I wouldn't exactly consider them a threat. Watch your step, be careful around ledges or cliffs, and bring extra water, I guess. Honestly, that's about all I've got for these pranksters. Anyway, that's about all the information I was able to dig up about the Achiyalabopa and the Ahi At-Trab. I hope you found it informative. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. Till next time, fellas, I'll see you down here at the lab.